Hello, everybody. We're going to turn the lights on here. Thanks, everyone, for coming. We're going to blow through a lot of this content fairly quickly, and we're going to have time for questions at the end, of course, as always. Let me get my camera going so you guys can see who you're talking to. Awesome. All right, we're going to jump in. All right, so thanks to everyone who's joining us today. We're going to be talking about cryptocurrency fundraising, just running through some of the basics. I see, as usual, we've got a mix of mostly, I guess, just new clients and then some folks we're not working with currently. So hello, thank you for joining us. Today we're going to go through introduction and demo of what it looks like to accept cryptocurrency and make a cryptocurrency donation. We're going to do a quick rundown on what is crypto from a technological standpoint, which is a new thing we're adding back into these presentations. We took it out for a while because it seemed to derail things very frequently. Folks just kind of wanted to talk about mining and some of the more specific technical questions. But we're going to jump back into some of that because we think the technology is obviously very cool. And it's kind of interesting to understand how it works and fundamentally why it exists in the first place. Then we're going to dive into why cryptocurrency donations, period, sort of the incentive model behind nonprofits taking it, and of course, individuals making their donations. Finally, we're going to do how to fundraise crypto, so sort of active strategies from a 30,000-foot look. Okay, first and foremost, introductions. Some of you who are joining us again have probably seen this slide a few times, but we are the giving block. We set up nonprofits to take cryptocurrency donations, and then we help them with active strategies for fundraising it. We're focused not just on delivering a technical product for taking crypto, but obviously ROI. Nonprofits who are invested in actively cultivating a cryptocurrency fundraising ecosystem and making that a more reliable aspect of their year-to-year fundraising strategy. So you can see on the left, some of our more notable clients, then a pile of others below. Heading into end of year, it looks like we're going to have passed the 100 nonprofit threshold for the first time, which is a very exciting milestone for us. On the right, you can see members of our team. I am Pat Duffy, now with longer hair and no glasses. Worked at the Lupus Foundation, worked as their integration director, setting them up to do a lot of fundraising things and management aspects as well, ultimately setting them up to take crypto with Alex Wilson, our other co-founder. Alex is a crypto trader, an investor turned nonprofit specialist. We've got Maria Healy. For those of you who are going to end up working with us, you're going to be working directly with her. She focuses on onboarding. She's also working on brand and reach stuff for us, just connected with some of the more expert folks in the crypto and nonprofit side to make sure we get the word out about our organizations and their fundraising. And then Michael Early makes sure nothing breaks. So he does a little bit of everything, utility player and with us since very early on. Okay, let's look at a demo real quick. So as you can see here, No Kid Hungry. This is a profile page we put on our site. A lot of folks find us by searching donate Bitcoin, donate cryptocurrency. How can I donate crypto to offset a tax burden? We'll get into that later. Ultimately, this is all it looks like. It's a piece of code, an iframe that you can copy and paste in your site, very similar to embedding a YouTube video. Nothing too fancy and technical about it. In terms of making a donation, a donor would select the crypto they want to give, let's say Bitcoin. We'll skip the form to make it streamlined. They would select the amount of crypto or enter the amount of crypto they want to give. In this case, one Bitcoin is about $11.5 thousand USD. They'd make a pledge. Let's go. And then they would send a transaction to this wallet address. If they want a tax receipt, they'd plug in an email here. So that's it. Nothing too fancy. And then an equivalent widget you can see here would go on your site as well. Two places they get donations. One is a platform method. One is more like a PayPal for taking crypto. Just making a gateway directly on your site. Awesome. Diving into the tech. Also, for anyone who's on currently, make sure if you have questions, you plug them into the chat. We're going to get to them at the end of the presentation, unless something pops up and it seems pressing in the moment. I'll take a breath and dive into that then. Okay. What is crypto? I know this graphic will probably give you a brain aneurysm, but we'll just touch on some of the basics. The reason for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin existing are primarily based around the fact that you generally needed the intermediaries in a financial system to allow for it to work prior to the advent of the internet. So you have a government to print bills, to have some sort of legal tender that folks can transact in. You need contracts that allow for you to be sure that if you're participating with another individual in a financial transaction, you can depend on that transaction actually going through and them holding to their word. And then you need banks, someone to provide the capital and the liquidity, or to move money from point A to point B. All of those things existed to make sure that folks could send one another transactions. The basic idea behind cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin is they remove the need for those intermediaries. So the general idea is instead of a bank authorizing transactions or a government printing it, a cryptocurrency is a unit of currency that's released along a preset timeline. No one can change how much is released. And then to authorize a transaction, instead of it being a bank, it's a cryptographic algorithm. So they're trying to just crack a code. All of the computers in the network do that, anyone who's mining, quote unquote. And when more than half of those computers agree on the solution to a code, what will be released is a message that says, okay, Pat Duffy is sending $1 in Bitcoin to whoever's receiving it. That's the general idea behind it. It takes out the need for intermediaries, it's streamlined, it can make it faster, networks can be more secure, harder to alter transaction records. It's an attempt at making better money, and the people who believe it is better money tend to invest in it, and that's where the financial ecosystem has kind of grown around it. So a lot less complicated than people think. It's pretty much replacing the need for governments printing money, banks authorizing and executing transactions and contracts to make sure that stuff goes through. All of that is built into a system of math and equations. Some of the perks: payments can clear in seconds. So because you're authorizing transactions using those algorithms, it just makes it easier for the transaction to go through quicker. Can't be counterfeited. No one can make additional Bitcoin and solve what's called the double spend problem, which we don't have to get into, but like MP3s, especially in the early 2000s, being duplicated and turned into torrent files and then shared illegally online. They wanted to make sure that you couldn't do the same with cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, where people could make fake ones. So it can't be counterfeited. It solved the double spend problem, which is why it was the first digital currency to really be widely adopted. Which is really important because people say Bitcoin isn't real. It's actually the only currency that can't be counterfeited, making it probably the most real form of money that we've had to date. Some might come up with something better, but for now, it seems pretty good. Fixed supply: no one can print cryptocurrency. The government can't make more or less of Bitcoin. It's released into an ecosystem, and there it goes. International: no government has control over how that system looks, and it's peer-to-peer. Again, replacing the need for the intermediaries who would normally be in the middle of a transaction. So those are some of the reasons people are buying it and selling it to begin with. And then because that ecosystem exists, people do buy it and sell it, of course. We can get into sort of why that happens from a donation standpoint, why that's being turned into a nonprofit opportunity. Okay, so why crypto donations? This is kind of the baseline, why people started using it, period. On top of those layers of technical supremacy, or whatever you want to call it, it was a better form of money, but now a lot more people are using it just because institutions that did exist before are making it really easy to get. So back in the day, it was hard to get onto a website, find a way to buy cryptocurrency, where to store it. You kind of had to figure it out from scratch and be very technical. Now you can buy it in places like the Cash App, as you see here. Bitcoin has a little over 100 million users compared to the Cash App being at something like 30 million. Compare that to Venmo, it's about 2.5 times more users than Venmo. All of these things are really important statistics in the sense that you need to know there's enough volume and liquidity to make a transaction. But long story short, because you can now buy it in the Cash App sold about $900 million worth of Bitcoin last quarter, for instance, which is astounding. Crypto exchanges now in the US have more users than Charles Schwab, Fidelity, and E-Trade. So reasons behind that is just institutional accessibility. It's become really easy to get. And now turning it from why so many people are using it to why so many people are donating it. You can see the chart on the left here. Bitcoin, for one unit, one full Bitcoin in 2010, you could buy it for 6 cents, which would have been, say, if you invested $1,000, 16,666.66 Bitcoin, which today would be worth $177 million or so. The reason that's important is capital gains tax. Because cryptocurrency is such a volatile asset class, you can donate it to a nonprofit to offset your capital gains tax burdens. In other words, if someone has Bitcoin, and right now that's over 100 million people, if they're holding Bitcoin that has appreciated, and you ask them to give you a credit card instead, they're giving up the opportunity to offset their capital gains by giving Bitcoin. If you're expecting them to give you a donation via credit card instead of opening your doors to the Bitcoin that would give them a better tax offset, they're probably not going to give you with a credit card. If they have crypto tax burdens to offset, they're going to go to a nonprofit that takes the Bitcoin directly so they can erase their capital gains taxes that they owe. In other words, if you accumulated enough capital gains taxes, you traded stocks, you traded cryptocurrencies, you sold a house, all of those things are property assets over the course of a year, and you accumulated $1 million in taxes that you owe to the government in capital gains. You can donate $1 million in Bitcoin that is appreciated to that nonprofit to offset the $1 million you would be paying the government. And then on top of that, the $1 million that you give to that nonprofit, you don't owe the 200 grand in taxes that you would owe for the 20% on that $1 million. So there's this compounding tax incentive around cryptocurrency in the same way that it exists around stocks. The difference with crypto is it's really easy to transfer. And because the prices are more volatile, it's usually your most appreciated asset. One of your cryptocurrencies might be, rather, at the end of the year. So your tax advisor will tell you to give that first. So you'd give your crypto, then you backpedal into stocks, then maybe a car or a house, whatever it might be, to offset your taxes. So yeah, that's the big idea here. It's way more tax incentivized generally to donate using crypto than a credit card. And because it's just as easy to do so, the nonprofits who offer this method tend to get more donations. That's kind of the bet that we're making in the groups that we work with. Okay. We are making lightning time. We're going to try to get through all of this in less than half an hour, hopefully maybe a little over 20. We'll have a conversation about what we went through and then go through some questions. But final section here, how to fundraise crypto. Starting off here, let me make sure I didn't double click a slide. Perfect. Common misconceptions around this. Our donors don't use Bitcoin. This is a common one when we're talking to nonprofits for the first time, to which we say, good. Your core donors probably don't do a lot of things. That doesn't necessarily indicate a trend. So it's important to note that the user base in cryptocurrency has doubled consistently, pretty much every year and a half or 2 years. Again, back in the day, 6 cents a unit for Bitcoin, very few users. Now we've got over 100 million users, a giant financial ecosystem. And that's been going up now for over a decade. Bitcoin's been around for longer than Instagram, and it's becoming more and more widely adopted by banks, by institutions, and by individual investors. If your donors aren't using Bitcoin, eventually your donors will be. And if your donors, aren't using Bitcoin currently, there are people who could be your donors who do use Bitcoin, and it's important to obviously access new demographics. So that's important. Second misconception, no one's offered us Bitcoin before. They think there's not demand for it because they haven't received a direct offer. If you're not taking stocks, you probably don't get a whole lot of messages around giving you stocks. That's because most people will go online and search donate Bitcoin first and pick a nonprofit second. So if you're not accepting crypto, it's a chicken and the egg type thing. You're not going to get crypto donation offers for the most part unless you're already accepting it, because people are going to start with where can I donate my Bitcoin and then pick the nonprofit as a secondary consideration. Finally, it doesn't fit our brand. We just took a screenshot of a Save the Children tweet here to show what it looks like to fundraise crypto. Pretty much the same as any other fundraising. All you do is you talk about your mission. You say, here's who we are. Here's what we do. By the way, we take crypto. And then you end up putting that into users' feeds. You obviously want a page that ranks online for people who are doing search. But beyond that, it's pretty much just another way for people to give you money in a new donor demographic you otherwise can't tap into. Doesn't mean you have to change your message or your brand. You can stay completely on brand. So 3 common misconceptions around fundraising that are important to kind of push through before we get into the meat. Okay, how to accept donations. These are core considerations around fundraising, like what's going on your back end. You want something with an auto sell function, super important. You don't want to get stuck holding the bag with a cryptocurrency asset that's super volatile in price. You don't want it to drop 15% while you're holding it and lose out on that money. You also don't want your donor to see that you were irresponsible with the crypto someone gave you. That'll obviously disincentivize them from giving to you again. So you want a system that automatically inverts it to cash unless you're holding it as a long-term endowment, which is very rare, and we don't recommend it. Donor receipts, you want something that gives the donor everything they need to go to the IRS. That's a manual process where you make them email you and you go back and forth giving them that information. That's not good user experience. They'll probably go somewhere where that's automated next time because people don't like wasting their time. So you want an automatic donor receipt to go to your donor with everything they need for the IRS. They want their EIN for the nonprofit, they want the transaction details, etc. From a compliance standpoint, you want to set up an account in a compliant way. You don't want a member of your staff, say, to open their own Bitcoin wallet and start taking donations that are associated from or associated with bill from accounting. That's not a good look. The IRS does not like that, and other regulators and law enforcement doesn't like that as well, especially if a large donation suddenly goes to bill from accounting, and it's not formally associated with the nonprofit. That doesn't look good. In addition to that, you don't want to set up an account where donations can get blocked at or above a certain level, say $100,000 daily limit. And you also don't want limits on the amount you can sell per day. If you get a $100,000 gift, you don't want it to say you can only send or sell 10K per day, because then it'll take you 10 days to sell it, and there will be price movement over those 10 days. That volatility could lead to a loss in the value of that gift. Fiat off-ramps, in addition to it automatically selling for cash, you want to make sure that it's, or in addition to it automatically selling on the platform, you want to make sure it automatically sells for cash rather. So you will see cryptocurrency providers out there that advertise an auto sell feature, but it's only automatically selling the crypto in between other cryptos. So you can move, say, between Bitcoin and Ethereum, or Ethereum and Bitcoin. That's not good, because you're going to have to open a secondary account, move it over to that, and then sell it for cash somewhere else. Over that period of time, obviously the price can change. Again, back to the main thing, you don't want price volatility. Finally, insured. If you have a fiat off-ramp and it can automatically convert it to cash, you want to make sure the cash sitting in your account, once it's converted, is insured. FDIC insured cash. So important. Exchanges like Gemini, of course, have that, which is what we build on. That's the safety aspects. And then quickly through the efficiency piece, you want an account setup that is efficient. You don't want to work with an exchange that doesn't have a nonprofit specific solution or a nonprofit specific onboarding or account setup. That's not good. You'll waste a ton of time. Then you can also end up with a non-compliant solution that way as well. Integration, you want to make sure that it's really easy to add the fact that you take crypto to your site. You don't want it to be an email address that you put as a hyperlink. Someone sends you an email, tells you they want to give you Bitcoin. You go back and forth to determine the amount. Then you share a wallet address. They send it to you. And at the end, you send them a tax receipt you built manually. It's been 2.5 weeks. They didn't have fun. They're not coming back. You want something easy to integrate, right? For us, it's a widget. It's an iframe you copy and paste. Finally, reporting and data. You want to make sure that if a donor does want to leave you donor information, they can leave all the info that is key that you would want to collect, and that's easy to access as a nonprofit and import into your CRM. So that's from like an end-to-end donation standpoint, the things you're looking for in a technical solution. Awesome. Types of cryptocurrency fundraising. These are really important to think about. Most nonprofits who are taking crypto pretty much only think about number one. They're thinking about adding like a PayPal type option for donors to give them cryptocurrency on their website. That is almost no cryptocurrency donations happening that way. There aren't a whole lot of people hanging out on like even one of our larger clients like Save the Children, hanging out on the Save the Children website, looking to make a gift, stumbling upon the fact they take crypto and going, oh, I was going to give with a credit card, but I see that they take crypto. I just so happen to have quite a bit of crypto with a tax offset opportunity. I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, maybe I'll give $100,000 in Bitcoin to this nonprofit because I stumbled upon the fact that they take it. Not usually the case. So active strategies are, of course, more important, and you want to be found online by people who are looking for folks who take crypto donations, who are actively already pursuing that tax offset. So that leads us to number two. Crypto donors who want to find nonprofits who take it. That's a big chunk of donations. And if you're taking a passive approach, out of 1 and 2, 2 is way more important. If you're just passively accepting crypto, you want to make sure that you have a donation page for taking crypto that has all the key details about the cryptos you accept and why you're taking it so that you can actually rank. And then being on a platform like ours is obviously important, just to shill our piece. Our platform pretty much ranks at the top of any search for nonprofits who take crypto. So the folks who start there, they usually end up on a platform, and then they'll pick the nonprofit second. They're usually not finding the nonprofit site first. And then finally, the third type of crypto fundraising is actively actually fundraising it. What that has to do with mostly is cryptocurrency partners. So there's a million companies in this space. There are exchanges that are more profitable than Deutsche Bank. There are news outlets with avid followers. There are cryptocurrency products with millions of users. Those are the sorts of companies that are getting involved in the space that are awesome to work with, and that can help you get the word out. So if you're a nonprofit who's going online and you just want to talk about crypto, a better approach is obviously use hashtags related to cryptocurrency so you can end up in feeds, and then to work with companies in this space who know where those audiences are and how to tap into them. Active crypto fundraising strategy, in other words, is not about you tapping your audience repeatedly, people who already follow and donate to you, and asking them for donations. It's about accessing a new audience of cryptocurrency users and trying to get them to pay attention to you and then ultimately donate to you. So active crypto fundraising mostly looks like building a partnership network. Okay, making good time. This is just like a general fundraising outline. We don't have to stick on this a while. But if you're accepting cryptocurrency or you're taking anything, this is just like I think a good model for nonprofit fundraising. Having a game plan, partner acquisition, and informing the media. Tell people about the fact that you take crypto. Make sure that word gets out there, especially if you're doing an active campaign. Then for the second announcement one, announce the fact that you have key partnerships once that happens. If you have a new initiative focused on crypto, announce that. If you're doing an event that's accepting crypto, announce that. Specifically associated with the fact that you're taking crypto, like a separate announcement is super important. Third, launch partner communications and nonprofit communications, media communications, making sure all the folks that you want to work with on this have really easy tools to get involved and engage online. Lastly, the funnel, ongoing events, ongoing partnerships, capitalizing on hype. Like this is where a lot of our work comes in. Like we run Bitcoin Tuesday, obviously, the community campaign for Giving Tuesday for crypto fundraising. A big part of what we do is after that day, making sure that all of the new people who are suddenly paying attention for nonprofits who didn't give on December 1 are going to keep paying attention and make a gift. So cultivating those relationships with the companies and making sure we stay in front of their audiences with cool, compelling ways to get involved. So ongoing partnerships and events are super important. Don't just let it die at the end of a campaign. And finally, closing, recapping the content, telling the donors what the hell happened the day you had a campaign. Don't just ask them for money and then at the end say thanks. Give them some data, give them some reporting, tell them what you're going to do with that money and tell them what would happen if they keep giving. Try to keep that energy going. Same thing with your partners. Okay, fantastic. So that's the core content, obviously. If you guys have questions about any of the content, keep posting it in the chat. I see we've got one thing in the Q&A, one thing in the chat. I'm going to jump into questions. And good, we've got like 6 minutes left in the half an hour block. Let's see. Interested in accepting crypto nation using your platform? What is the requirement to get started? Yeah, so if you're looking to take crypto in general, again, like just doing your research and like the best ways to take it, hopefully that's us. And then finally, the way that we operate is as a consultancy, more or less, and then a technical service provider. So from the technical service standpoint, we help nonprofits get set up to take crypto. That's a paid service. So you can contact us and figure out like what that system looks like and what package would make sense for you. And then we're a consultancy in the sense that we have like layered packages where if you want us to help with the marketing and the fundraising side, that's about 75% of the nonprofits we work with. We also have services around that. So I would say just reach out and have a conversation. If you have a nonprofit that doesn't have a budget for fundraising, I would say the best thing to do is just find an easy solution for just taking crypto and popping it on your site. That's, again, of course, not an active strategy, which is what we would prefer, but it's a good starting point until you grow your budget to the point where you can invest in fundraising resources. So no requirement to get started taking crypto. You can ultimately open a wallet or do something basic to take crypto in the meantime. That won't cultivate, obviously, a crypto donation ecosystem, but it's a really good way to get started and figure out the tech. Okay. Any recommendations on keywords for Google search terms for crypto holders and looking to give a contribution? Yeah, so it depends on the nonprofit. It's mostly just associating key terms around cryptocurrency with the things that you do. So cryptocurrency, crypto, and Bitcoin are the three main ones. There's kind of three ways people say the same thing, and including terms like that are super important in accessing an audience. Okay. Any other questions from the folks on the line? Nope, nothing. Answered all your questions. Perfect presentation. Thank you, Christopher. Appreciate it. I guess we've got another couple minutes here. I will hang out on the line for folks who have, okay, one more question. We've emailed your organization. Please email us here. Okay. We will send you a note. If you are reaching out to us as a nonprofit, please always include a GuideStar profile. If you don't have a 501c3 or a GuideStar profile, that's super important for us in the groups that we work with. So Okiki, I hope I'm saying your name correctly. I might be pronouncing it incorrect. Shoot us over a note with your GuideStar profile link, and we can take a look to make sure that you guys are set up properly as a nonprofit to begin with. If that's the case, then of course we just jump on a call and walk through what it looks like to work with us. Okay. I see folks starting to trickle out. You can see here, obviously, email addresses if you want to contact us directly if you have additional questions. I won't just hang out and make everyone else linger. We'll give you a couple minutes back of your day. But thank you all for joining us. If you have any other questions, of course, info@thegivingblock.com. Shoot us a note to the general team, and then we'll link you up with the right person on our team to answer your questions. Other than that, enjoy the rest of your day. Have an awesome weekend. And thanks for coming to the presentation. All right. Bye, everybody.